We have MeLisa with us. I'm really excited for the session. Thank you so much, MeLisa, for accepting this invitation, for being open to sharing your knowledge and the things you're working on. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited for everyone to hear the things that you are going to be sharing today. Let me just get this in presentation mode. Can everyone see the screen good? Cool. Okay. MeLisa, it's all you.
All right, perfect. Can you hear me? Am I up
Yep, I hear you. Can you guys hear her?
and
Yep,
see me?
I hear you. Can you guys
Mm,
see?
Okay, cool. I can't see me, which is interesting, but also probably great because I won't be distracted looking at myself. I'm super excited to be with you all today. I was excited when the team from Symphony reached out to me about leading a session and wanted me to come up with a concept to talk to you about. And I think in the music and entertainment space, we're always asked to talk about, how I became a manager or how to find a manager or how to be successful in the music industry. And there are tons of answers to all of those questions. But the thing that I think has been most influential in my career is leading through emotional intelligence. So I call myself a solutionist. I never call myself a manager, and people are always curious about who I am, what I do, and they know that I am, of course, affiliated with SZA, but they always have questions. So this slide is just to kind of show who I am, where I came from, and what I do. I started my career in Atlanta. So shout out to all the Atlanta people that are on the call today with Free Bands, Futures label. And it was really, really interesting because I'm an artist at heart. So I used to be a spoken word artist when I was in college. I used to do a lot of writing, and I thought that I'd be a poet somewhere. I thought I'd be like living my life traveling on Deaf Poetry Jam. And that just didn't end up being my path. I actually started in tech. And directly out of college, I went and worked for AT&T, and I did exceptionally well. And during my time there, I I grew to the point in corporate sales where I'd hit so many levers. I sat in the office one day and I realized I was the only woman in the meeting, the only person of color in the meeting, and I was the youngest person in the meeting, and I was running the meeting. And at that point, I thought, well, oh my God, I've kind of done it. Like, I've hit my metrics of success when I look around and I see that these gentlemen are in the room and they're looking to me to tell them how to run the solutions behind communications in their company. And I was really, really unhappy. And at that time, my younger brother had dropped out of college and drove his Corolla across the country to California and decided that he wanted to be a producer. He was working with several artists and really doing his thing. He was living the artist life, sleeping on couches, sleeping on the floor, just trying to make it. And I was so inspired by what he was doing. He was working with an artist by the name of Isaiah Rashad, and he bumped into a young emerging artist by the name of SZA. They connected. They built a very successful professional career, and he created many a hit song. His name is Thank God for Cody, and he's the producer behind a lot of SZA's biggest hits like The Weekend, Love Galore, and so on and so forth. And my brother called me and he said, man, like, I really think I'm at the point in my career where I need a manager. And this was post control. And I said, and he said, do you think you can manage me? And I said, Absolutely not, because I have no idea what that means. And I'm a true Leo at heart, where I don't do anything unless I think that I'm gonna win and that I think I'm gonna succeed. But I was so interested in what it could look like to be his manager and to be a music executive in general. And sometimes God things happen, and a God thing happened, and I met a woman. Her name is Stephanie Miss J Jester. She's actually Future's mom, and we met by chance. She heard about a lot of the nonprofit work I was doing. And through just network and community and alignment, I decided to step away from AT&T. I took a 60% pay cut and I became her assistant. Quickly, I learned that many music executives have no credentials, no credits, no background, no history. They are just running off feels what they feel like they should be doing and getting it done that way. And I realized I had a really, really good advantage because I had spent 7 years in corporate. I really understood and had good business acumen. Like I knew how to follow up and follow through. I knew how to talk the language of business, and I was in sales. So one of my main things was, what's in it for me? I was always answering that question for my clients. And I brought that same business acumen into the music space as I began to work for Miss J. Miss J was an incredible mentor in the fact that she opened doors for me, and she set me in rooms where I was able to work alongside her and Future and Anthony Sale and just absorb, absorb, absorb. So while I was working with Miss J, I learned touring, and I learned merchandising, and I learned a bit of business management because that's what she was doing for Future at the time. And it was a at that time in my life, I thought I needed a master's degree. So I took my time with Miss J as like my master's degree. And Freebands gave me a crash course in all things music. And the beautiful thing is that I learned kind of like what I like to do. So in this slide, you'll see people say, "What do you do?" And I do management, but I've done production. And I'm not just a music manager. I manage creatives, and I consider myself a creative executive and solutionist. So you'll see a Earth Gang cover where I was the producer that worked with Fred St. Foster on the creative and execution behind that. You'll see emerging artist Ebony Riley on the red carpet, and I'm part of her management team. You'll see Guap Tarantino FaceTiming me um, in a ski mask because we was really gang at Free Bands. And then you'll see the futuristic summer merch that was designed by an artist, Jazz Bell, that I manage. And of course, you'll see SZA, Grammy girl, there. And you'll see Rosalind Daniels, who is a self-proclaimed Black Martha Stewart, and she's an amazing influencer that I had an opportunity to work with. You'll see Callie Uchis, who I've managed her stylist for quite some time, and you'll also see music executives like Amber Grimes that I manage as far as her media talent career. And so it's been a really wild ride, and I continue to allow myself to kind of stay open to all of the possibilities of what my career can be. Can go to the next slide. So what does it mean to be a solutionist? I never tell people that I'm just a music manager or just a creative manager, because what the heck does that mean? I don't think that that title gives enough depth and clarity to what the day-to-day of looking like a manager is. And the honest thing is that I'm a solutionist. Every day I wake up and I'm presented with a creative set of problems. And my job on every team that I work with is to find a solution to whatever the problem is that presents itself for today. And that problem can be a logistical problem that we have something that needs to get from one place to another, whether that's a product or an artist, and we need to figure out how to get it done. Or it can be a brand collaboration, and we need to understand how to deliver for the brand while keeping the artist integrity. It can just be a wide range of things that come up during the day, and I love the fact that as a solutionist, life continues to be a puzzle, and I get an opportunity to really just stay curious. With emotional intelligence, I think that it's really interesting when you think about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is really just the ability to manage your own emotions and to understand the emotions of the people around you. It's about being self aware, about practicing empathy and relationship management. And in the end, I think that my ability to have good emotional intelligence, but also to stay curious and work hard about increasing my level of emotional intelligence has given me my edge in this industry. So today, that's what we're going to dive into. We're going to dive into what emotional intelligence looks like in a creative leadership space. I'm going to use the framework today of inner framework and outer framework. So, sorry, Monique. So, when you think about emotional intelligence, the first thing you want to think about is managing your emotions. And there are so many ways you can work towards and be better at managing your emotions. For me, I do a lot of that through reading. Like that's how I grow. So I'm sharing with you all today one of my favorite books, which is The Four Agreements. And the agreements are so simple that everybody can understand them, but they are also so hard sometimes. So, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. And for me, I believe that like words and time are the currency of both success and leadership. Like if you can hold yourself accountable with your words, whether that is telling somebody what you're going to do and following through, or being careful about the words that you speak over yourself. That's how you set yourself up for success. So, for me, it is, I really make a point of protecting my words in every creative space. So when I approach a set, and everyone who's ever done production knows that production is bound to have problems and challenges. And the larger the set, the more people you get there, and the more opportunity for the day to go astray. And it starts with how you talk to each other, how you approach the problem. Do you take a problem and immediately look at the ways that it can't work, or do you take a look at the problem and immediately come in and decide how you can make it work? You start the problem with the mindset that there is a solution, and you do that with your words. It's the way you address somebody. I can think of times where I've had to call producers, and let's say we need something as simple as a backdrop, but I need it printed in 12 hours, which is something that's usually just not possible. And when they get on the phone with me, they tell me, "MeLisa, that is not possible." And I think sometimes I don't want to say I set spells with my words, but I definitely change the momentum of the outcome by the words that I use in situations like that. So I usually tell people, exactly what I believe. If they tell me it's impossible, most things at the end of the day, most things are possible, and you have to approach everything that way. So if I lead with encouragement and telling my staff, the individuals that I lead, what I believe is possible for them, they usually find the possibility. But if I start the conversation and stay in agreement that something is not possible, then we never find the solution. So be impeccable with your words. That means not only do you use your words as a vessel of positivity and creation and positive outcome, but you also honor yourself by using your words in a way that um, is true. You tell people what you're going to do and you do it. The next agreement is don't take anything personally. And this is such a great one in the creative space because there is so much rejection on a daily basis. You know, like if you are working in a creative space with other creatives and you are ideating and you are hoping to get to the big wins and the big ideas, there have to be no's all of the time. And if you work yourself into a way where you take all of the no's personally, you'll never get to the big win. So one of the things that I really had to learn during my journey is to not take things personally, not take the rejection personally, not take the no personally. If I work all night, if I work weeks on a creative idea and it doesn't land with the artist, it didn't land with the artist because I'm bad. I'm a bad ideator. It didn't land bad with the artist because my ideas aren't good. It didn't land because there's something personally wrong with me and the way that I think things through. It just didn't land because it didn't land, and I should keep shooting. And this is also super important when it comes to working in high stress environments. When you work with so many people, like a tour in a high stress environment, if you let every interaction that you have with another person be taken personally, then you are just setting yourself up for not only failure, but to be just an emotional punching bag. And a lot of times when people, I've gotten so I guess good at this is the word, that you have to tell me that I did something to you. I will never think that an attitude or something that somebody says that's negative is a personal reflection of how they feel about me, unless they verbatim tell me that, hey, this is how I feel and this is what's wrong and this is why this energy is being directed to you. I just don't take things personally. And that leads into number 3, which is don't make assumptions. You know, like you can't assume anything. You have to stay curious in a creative space, even as it applies to the work that you do with your artists. Many times in management and in solution building, you have to talk on behalf of another person. And I've learned to not assume anything when being an advocate for an artist's vision. I like to go into a room when I'm an advocate for their vision with no assumptions about what the artist thinks. I get very curious in my conversations with them, ask as many questions as possible so that when I am an advocate on their behalf, I'm able to speak with conviction, because I've asked the questions and I haven't assumed and I know exactly what they want me to say when I'm not in their presence. And number 4 for the agreements is always do your best. And this is something that I think has made me extremely successful, is because many a day, I won't say every day, I don't think I do my best every day, but many a day I wake up and I am always in competition with myself. I want to I want to have a better routine. I want to have a better um I want better results when I go to the gym. I want to set a plan and I want to stick to it. I want to know that I am always doing my best. And even when there are times when I fall short, I'm able to look at the effort that I put forth and say, I did my best. I'm going to give myself grace. And now I have the metrics to be able to build upon to figure out what I need to do better. So everything starts with your inner framework. And once you have a really firm grasp on your inner framework when it comes to emotional intelligence in the workplace, you then have to work on the outer framework. And for the outer framework, I'm going to also use a book. And one of my favorite books that I use to kind of enhance my outer framework and build my core principles is Unreasonable Hospitality. This book is amazing. If you have not read it, you should. And I know what you are probably thinking. None of us work in the hospitality industry. We're in the entertainment industry. How can a book written by the owner of one of the number one restaurants in the world What does he possibly have to teach us? But the principles in this book, I apply them time and time again to how I approach every project and every interaction that I have with the creatives that I work with. So, one of the core principles, the first core principle is make people feel seen. And everyone, many people love the idea of like what it looks like to work in the entertainment space. It's flashy. You get to go to the good parties. You get to go to the premiere events. But what we do is service. This is a for many of us, for all of us, even the artists, this is a service industry. So you are working time and time again to make people feel seen. What does that look like for you in your position? And the thing about it is when you go in and you approach leadership from a service perspective, you empower those around you. You create environments that make the team more successful. And in the end, as a leader, the team success is a leader's success. And so you want to be able to create opportunities to make people feel seen. The second part is creating transformative moments. Um, and that is not creating, let's say you are an executive that runs a small or independent agency, and you have 4 employees. What are you doing to create transformative moments for those 4 employees? How are you working to enhance the moments that they have? How are you giving them the attaboys and the pats on the back? You want to figure out how to do that, not only for the people that you work with, but also the people that you work for. And make sure that as you stack the wins, you're finding really personal ways to create moments of appreciation for the people around you. And the third thing, and I am so happy because I didn't think I would get through this in close to 30 minutes, but I wanted to do it so I could give everybody an opportunity to ask any questions, is lead from empathy and not ego. And in our space, that is so important because creatives, there is not a creative space that ego does not exist in. But when you allow ego to get in the way of your leadership, then you are creating a ship with holes in the bottom and it will sink. But when you, as a leader, go the extra mile to make sure that you are being empathetic, then you are creating a situation for not only your personal success, but the success of the people around you. When I was working at Free Bands, a lot of the guys used to joke and they say, "MeLisa, are you trying to start like a foster home where you like where you taking in artists that you want to take care of, or are you trying to be a manager?" Because I would spend so much time with the young men trying to understand who they were and trying to understand their story and trying to understand ways to be empathetic of their behavior, their actions, how they think. And what it did was create so much respect between me and the artist where I was really able to come in and I can market better because I understand the artist. I I don't have to ask sometimes what the song is about because I've spent so much time in their space understanding who they are and what they think. And I understand where they're from and what their home looks like and the people around them look like, that I'm able to help them ideate creative rollouts that are authentic to who they are. And it is always more successful. So we're all chasing creative authenticity, but as a leader, how do you understand creative authenticity for an artist if you aren't empathetic to who they are? You really can't. So these are my core principles when it comes to my outer framework and how I approach the creators that I work with, the artists that I work with, and the teams that I help support. And I hope some of this was impactful. And I would love to continue the conversation, Monique, and answer some questions from the chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, MeLisa. I feel like this is information that we all need, and we're having the luxury of picking a brain of someone who's doing this so exceptionally well, and with so many creatives that we see on really big stages every day, but don't really know the ins and outs of what's happening, behind all of that. So I would love to now spend some time and create an interactive moment where you guys ask me, Lisa, whatever your questions are. And yeah, we'll go from there. I want to stop sharing this screen so it's just our cameras. We have some questions here. So the first one is, how do you manage personal and team burnout as a team leader?
Personal burnout in general is really, really hard. And I feel like this day and age, because we are constantly inundated with more information than we were built to consume. And so for me, when it comes to personal burnout, I just step away. I step away from all the things and I become fiercely protective of what I'm consuming. So as a solutionist on a team, I still have to be in the know of what's going on social media, right? I can't just like go black for 5 months, which is what I would absolutely prefer. But I can get very strategic about what I'm following, how I'm using social media, and what I'm replacing that scrolling time with. Is it a book like one of the two of these? Is it a documentary? Is it, stepping away and leaning in to what I consume? And when it comes to burnout on a team, it's about that empathy and it's about that listening where I'm having really honest conversation with my team about what they can handle and what they can't. And then I'm also being observant on what I see and I'm giving that feedback as well and allowing the space for people to make proper changes.
Devonte is asking, in your opinion, what should a person in a management role do regularly to be better at this position?
On a regular basis, I would say feed yourself knowledge. And to that point, it's not, and the reason why I wanted to do this on emotional intelligence is because we can go and we can read a billion business books, we can read a billion marketing books, and we can watch the TED Talks and we can listen to the podcast about all things business while neglecting the soft skills like emotional intelligence. So I would say make sure that you are daily expanding the knowledge that you're consuming and making sure that it's two-part. It's not just the business acumen, but it's also the soft skills and the things that bring out and bring up your emotional intelligence.
I'm really loving this angle. I'm super aligned with everything you're saying, Lisa, and this is amazing to hear from you. Akeem is asking, what is your advice to people trying to get in and get started in similar roles?
It gets started. So find the artists that want to work with you and work with them. So I know I saw in the chat earlier there was an artist that said, "Hey, I'm looking for a manager. I need somebody." And there was conversation back and forth in the chat where somebody was like, "Oh, this is my business. This is my company." Find the ways to get started. Find the ways to help people. Find the peers that you can partner with and start the project.
Jack is asking, how do you balance personal responsibilities with a position that can require you to be on 24/7?
It's about setting healthy boundaries and then honoring them on a daily basis, which is hard. And some days you do that really, really well, and then some days you do it poorly, but every day you try. You try to figure out how to set boundaries that you can maintain and that you can keep in place. And when you fall short of upholding those boundaries, you don't just give up and go like, "Oh, well, that's it." Like, you set the next day and you go ahead and you reinstate those boundaries and you try again.
George is asking, how do you work and plan your way towards a huge goal like a tour, artist brand position, or an album rollout?
You first understand who your partners are. So when it comes to huge things like a tour or like a album rollout, many times there are key partners that you're able to work with, and those teams grow as your artist grows. So you may be doing a tour. I've done a tour where we were doing 100 cap rooms, and the team was just me and two other people. And then I've done tours that are stadium size, and the team is me plus 250 people. And it's first getting in alignment with the key decision makers, coming up with a strategic plan where everyone's insight and expertise is taken into account, and then working the plan and holding each of those decision makers accountable.
Jetta's asking, how do you know when it's time to expand your team and how do you vet possible candidates? They're mentioning that they're at a space where they need help now, but it's hard to trust others will have the same work ethic as him or her. I'm sorry, they. I'm not sure. Sorry.
No, that's a really good question. And the thing is, it's trial and error. Like I wish I could say that there's a 1, 2, 3 step to expand your team and find people that are going to work as hard as you work. But there's not. You just have to, you can't scale a business if you can't trust other people. And so if you want to scale your business, the first thing is reach out, let people know that you're looking, intake those people, and make sure that you've done the due diligence of figuring out some really good questions that you want to ask. Make sure that you have a good understanding of what you need, and then pick a person. And if they don't work, fire them and pick another.
Yep, fire and hire.
Fire and hire.
Yes.
You have to do it.
Yep. Are there any other books you recommend in general?
Ooh, I think I should probably just like make a list of
Do
all
that.
the books that I recommend.
Do
And
it.
Monique, I know there's like a newsletter or something going on out after this. I'll make a
Yep.
list of all the books that I love, and I'll put them together. I make a reading list. Because I'm an avid reader. I love to read. It's one of the ways that I continue to expand my knowledge.
Be on the lookout, everyone, for an email where I will include this link. Do you think managers should have a therapist to help them balance so much for their clients?
I think that every person should have a therapist. Um, Go talk to that lady. Okay? Like you need to, as an adult, and this is opinion, right? I'm not a medical professional, but you care for, you go and do your regular checkups of the rest of your body. Why would you not take the time to lean into the understanding of your mind and how your mind works? I think I first found therapy when I was 30, right before I started my entrance into the music industry. And I was so grateful that I did. I've always been pretty self-aware, but there were so many tools that I didn't have, so much language that I didn't have to describe the things that I was going through and the things that I was trying to figure out. And it was so impactful to have someone to help give me that language and help shape um who I am and what I was doing. And because in a management role, I said you are a solutionist, you take on so much. And now I'm telling you to be empathetic, which means that I'm asking you to go outside of yourself and seek to understand other people even better. And as you do that, that can sometimes be heavy. So it's important, absolutely important, to have a place, a person that can give you more of the skills, more of the tools to help balance your own emotional health.
I love it. Aisha is asking, as a new manager, how do you identify who to reach out to when it comes to expanding your artist's visibility?
I have more questions because I think that that is something that is specific to your artist and specific to the amount the kind of music they create, where they are, the region. I don't just have a blanket answer. If it's possible, Monique, I don't have anything to grab their
I
contact
actually do.
information.
I have more context that they did include here a few
Okay,
messages
perfect.
later. So, artist currently has about 6,500 followers on Instagram and has overall streams reaching over 100K across all platforms this year. Is there a particular milestone he should reach before he starts reaching out for funding and setting up a tour? So, I'm thinking this is tour based, but if you want to also drop your email, Aisha, we can go about it that way also.
Yeah, let's drop your email and let's talk so that I make sure that I'm giving you information that's really specific to your artist.
That's so kind of you, willing to do that. Drop your email, Aisha, and we'll send that to MeLisa as well. Um, how important are building systems to manage multiple artists, and where should we start in building systems?
Um, Very important because that's when it goes back to business acumen. You're the one that's responsible for the follow through and the follow up of almost every part of an artist's career. So if you don't have any systems in place, then you miss. There's no brain big enough to remember all the things, especially when you expand into multiple artist management. So I would say my first thing is find a system that works for you for task management, understanding whether that's a simple spreadsheet that has your tasks and or working document that has all of the things that you have moving and what you're working on and where you are, and then keep up with it, you know. And there are tons of things that you can do that with the team, like Monday and Slack and those kind of platforms.
Adding on to that, this is coming from me, but I'm sure you've had to, I don't know if you've always been this way, but have had to learn a level of discipline to also maintain those systems and carry all of these projects. Any advice that you have when it comes to reaching that optimal level of discipline?
It's time and time again you have to do the work. And I had a when I worked at AT&T, I had this manager who he would call us in for our one-on-ones, and we would give him the list of the things that we are working on, and he would ask us where we were on each thing. And I would say, "Oh, I need to call back client number A." And he'd say, "Okay, well, why haven't you called them back?" And I'd be like, "Oh, no reason. I have no reason at all." And he would stop the one-on-one and he would go, "Okay, do it now." And he would make me call the person and I would do it right then and then I would move on to the next thing. And so now I have built the habit of doing it now. We have so many tools to do it now. If I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I think about the things that I need to get done, and I have 17 people that I need to text, and I know it's rude as hell to text them at 4 o'clock in the morning, I can schedule it. It's 17 people getting a text message at 8 a.m. because I've woke up at 4 and I've realized there are things that I need to do. I've started my day super early and I want to work my way through the day. Then I'm scheduling 17 messages at 4 a.m. to go out at 8 a.m. It's doing the work right then. It's cutting off your ability to procrastinate and just getting it done.
I love that answer. And I kind of want to encourage everyone right now too, because sometimes we're in a position in life and we don't know why we're there. But you guys are hearing me Lisa's story. Like she was working at AT&T and T and was acquiring all of these skills too that she's now able to apply to areas of her life also. So the process is always so important. Like where you're at, take what you can from that time and then allow that to continue to pave your path forward.
No, that's so true. And I even think about it like I never thought that my path would be AT&T to creative management. But when I first started with SZA, one of the first things that we did, it was Good Days. And she said, it was just me and her, and we were sitting, and she was like, "I want a cry line. Like, I want to be able to have people call me at a number and I want them to cry. And I was like, oh, okay. How and then a light bulb went out. I'm like, oh, I know the communication solution that can do this. I worked with these toll-free numbers at AT&T, and T, and we had a partner that came in, and this is the way they set up these toll-free numbers, and these toll-free numbers have this list of functionality. And the next thing I know, me and her in the room, and we have opened a cry line, and the label had to catch up. But it was because I had that time at AT&T, that time in the cubicle where I thought, this sucks so bad and I don't want to be here. But I was learning to cut out procrastination. I was learning to forecast. I was learning creative solutions that I would later be able to apply in this artistic space. So the process, never be mad at the process. And I'm still that way. I'm so curious of what I'm learning today that I'll be using in the next 5 to 10 years.
That gave me chills. Great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
What structures do you recommend for an independent artist managing creative energy while still being productive?
Say it to me one more time.
What structures do you recommend for someone managing creative energy and being productive? And I'm thinking of this from like a way of someone who maybe doesn't have the resources to have a lot of help. They're creative, but they still have to manage, and be productive while having, that creative energy flowing.
It's the same thing. It's the task management and finding the things that work for you that allow you to keep track with the business in a way that is not burning you out creatively. So, for me, I could say, oh, well, it's working in Monday or it's working in a spreadsheet. And you as a creative could look at that spreadsheet and go, oh my goodness, that's blowing me. It's giving me anxiety looking at that spreadsheet, but it's better for me to take notes in my phone and leave voice notes for myself. You have to find the things that kind of work with you to keep you on track and keeps your tasks managed. And I hope that answered your question.
I'm going to follow it up with Trill Manny's question here also. I think it'll add
Mhm.
to it. He says if an artist is being self-managed while in the same time period wanting to get a manager, how do you think that artist can shine in that period? He's asking this because he feels like he's doing a lot solo right now and signed a distro deal last year and doesn't want to be someone stuck waiting until he gets people around him to help him. So yeah, what should he do in this period of like still trying to find that growth?
It sounds like you're already doing it. It sounds like you are staying knowledgeable about the things in your business. You had the knowledge and the fortitude to go out and get yourself the distribution deal because you knew that that was something you need. And the thing about it is like, as an emerging artist, as an artist in general, you are an entrepreneur. Like it is a beautiful thing to think as an artist that you can build a team around you and you can forget about the business and lean in 100% to your creativity and your art. But the true thing is that music is a business and you are attempting to set yourself up to create a product that you can sell, and there's no point in your career where you want to step away 100% from the business. So the same way I'm telling you that the process, there were things that I had to learn in the process and things that I had to do. I think it is important to lean in to the process when you're in this emerging space and take note of the way you like things done. So when you do find a manager or somebody that you want to work with, you can tell them how you like your business ran. So I would just encourage you to keep doing the work of building your business and not think of that as a hardship, but think of it as a necessary tool and part of your journey that you need to continue to enhance.
I like that. Crystal is coming with a bit of a hot take type question. What would you say is the general sentiment within the industry about all of the changes happening in entertainment? They put in parentheses AI, rising tour costs, legitimacy of streaming. Do you think artists are more worried or optimistic about coming up with solutions?
Um, I think that there's no solution for AI. There's no, the world is ever changing. I think that as creatives and executives, we should be leaning into how to stay connected to our audiences and what does that look like. Um, I love that we're talking about emotional intelligence because AI can never recreate a connection that I have with an artist. Artists can go on ChatGPT and type in, like, if I had a manager, what would my manager say is the route to get me to a hot 100? But the emotional skills and the soft skills, AI just can't recreate that. I do not feel like I'm in competition with AI. I don't feel like AI is about to steal my clients. And I honestly, and this might be a hot take, is that even though we are seeing AI artists rise up the charts, I don't think there's longevity there, right? Because there is no connection. It is a trend, it is a fad, it is something that I think will stay, but it won't erase what we have, right? Like, it won't erase the need for human connection. And back to your question, I just think that it's just leaning into your audience. Like, the world is always changing. There are always new things happening culturally, and so some of that stuff you have to just shut it out, and you have to lean into exactly what you're doing and what you're trying to create. If As I wake up today and I get ready to work with a new emerging artist that's signed to Interscope, I am not thinking about the rising prices of touring per se. I'm not thinking about how she is in competition with an AI artist. I am thinking about, how do I get her the most exposure for her song? How do I get fans to understand who she is, where she comes from, and how she's relatable to them? I am still doing the basic work of understanding who an artist is, what their messaging is, and who that message is for. Keep it simple.
I like that. What metrics would you say are the most important when pitching an artist to a brand?
I think the metrics are the brand's mission, the brand's identity, and the artist's identity, and finding the places that those two things intersect. So if I don't necessarily pitch to brands, but um, if I was pitching an artist to a sneaker brand, I would want to understand who that sneaker is for. Is it for a runner? And if it's for a runner, is my artist a runner? Where's the intersection of the two? And making sure that those things are aligned. I think in brand partnerships, when those things are not aligned, it's just not real. And you can get a bag and you can get a check, but I think it waters down the artistry, and the character that an artist has built that's forward facing, if they just take money from brands that aren't aligned with their personal message. And it also looks cheesy for a brand when they just throw artists that aren't aligned up against their brand.
I really agree. Rekka's asking, as a creative director, I think we'd play a little bit more on that, but as a creative director, what would be the first things you'd have an artist optimize in their personal branding and artistry?
I think it's the storytelling. So it's their story, like leaning into what that is. As a creative director, if you have a new artist, and I think that most artists live in eras. So let's just say whatever era is around their single, their EP, their album. What is that story? If you, as the creative director and the artist and the management, cannot speak to that story separately and independently, then that's usually the biggest problem.
Star, can you speak more on what has made you successful as a solutionist for your creative clients?
Um, I think it's just curiosity. It's my desire to to just do more. Like I truly love what I do. And if you look at the clients that were on the first slide, a lot of people will look at them and go like, what the heck does SZA have in common with a stylist? Or what does a stylist have in common with a food influencer? And I just like people that are striving for excellence in their space and that are being very authentic to their creativity, because that's a mirror to who I am. So I've been very successful because I only work with clients where I feel alignment. And the beautiful thing about my career is that I've been able to build it in that way. And sometimes when you work at a label or you work other places, you don't necessarily get to cherry pick the people that you decide to work with, but you can look at each project and each artist and find your personal alignment.
Trill, if you're rolling out a project or just singles, what is your thought process to go about that? Project versus singles.
Well, it all starts with the storyline of the music. So, whether it be a single or whether it be an album, I'm starting with identifying what the messaging is, what the story is, and then deciding who I want to connect with this story, who I want to connect with this storyline, and kind of building from there. Where do those people sit? Because that helps explain the exposure. Like, how do I find them? And then what do I want to say when I find them? And how do I want to say it in a way that's meaningful, impactful, and also creative?
One of my favorite things about this session right now is at the center of most things that you're saying, I feel like they all come back to like the same principle. So just like you're applying, emotional intelligence, intentionality and like discipline and like getting things done to something that you used to do and now you're doing. And now even with like storytelling, when it comes to like branding and partnerships and everything, like it's like at the center of it all, like you're kind of keeping it simple to something that you've been able to learn and like create with your experience, and it all reverts back to like these core principles, I guess, like the four agreements and the other book as well. Like what you're like painting to everyone, I feel like this is like so valuable, and I know everyone's picking up on exactly what you're putting down as well. But it's just like if you have this like core principle of what it is to like be as like a human and a person and the way you show up, like those all trickle into the different aspects of like your work and what you do. So yeah, I'm loving every part of everything that
I
you've
think it's really simple, like even when we look at the example from Will, who wrote Reasonable Hospitality, one of his biggest things was like become a dream weaver. And you're like, what is that? It's just somebody who helps get things done. It's somebody who helps make dreams happen. And how do you do that? You have to be able to listen. You have to be able and have a genuine care. Like I feel most successful when the creators that I work with have accomplished whatever it is they want to accomplish. And they define success in so many different ways. And so it really is just it's about the simple things. It's not as much as we think that it is difficult and it's hard because of the statistics and the ratios of success and the this and the that. It's just not rocket science. We are not doing brain surgery over here. We are just allowing ourselves to be creative and keeping ourselves in the space to be able to do that.
I love it, while also like getting to do one of the most rewarding things, which is building these relationships and connections with people. And yeah, the way you're positioning all of this, I'm taking a lot away from it. And I definitely want to read that second book that you recommended. I haven't.
You should read it. It's so good.
I'm going to. We've answered, I believe, almost all questions that were applicable. Anywhere that people can reach out to you, Melissa, are you open to continued communication, socials? I don't know if you want to tell people where they can find you, or if not, that's okay too. But yeah.
No, they can find me at Mimi Chanel. I try to be responsive. So if I'm not responsive, don't take it personal. Just know that I will be getting back to you when I can, because I do care to connect. Somebody was asking, how do I